cancel the order. Begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. All council members are present. We have a quorum, so we will proceed with the agenda tonight. First up is the agenda, to approve it. Anyone have any questions on the agenda or modifications to it?
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. Citizen comments. Hearing no citizen comments, we will move on to our consent agenda, which includes the minutes of our September 3rd meeting and appropriations ordinance 1276.
Move to approve.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda approved. We do have one appointment to consider tonight, looks like, for the tourism board.
Yes, the tourism board can have 6 to 10 members, and currently there are 8 members. The tourism board is requesting the council appoint Chloe Henderson from the Historical Museum to that board for one of those open seats that ends December 31st of 2027.
Make a motion to accept Chloe Henderson to the tourism board.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Chloe Henderson to the tourism board through the end of 2027. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion approved. And just keeping with the historical theme, I guess, we do have a proclamation tonight regarding our new Founders Day.
Yeah, I'll let Heather chime in if she wants to, but this comes from when Ed Schoenberger came and presented information to you that we've been using the incorrect date for the founding of Greensburg. And so with the Founders Day celebration happening this Saturday, and just something to kind of commemorate moving forward, that we'll be using that new date. So I don't know if you want to add anything.
Nope, that pretty much sums it up. Ed Schoenberger, I would have loved to have him here tonight, but he is actually on his way back from Greece. So he's sorry to have missed it, but, you know, we all know Ed is kind of the unofficial but totally official historian of Cuyahoga County. So just happy to be moving this forward, and glad to see that his work and research is being promoted.
Well, if there are no objections, I'll go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas the city of Greensburg, Kansas holds a deep and rich history rooted in the resilience and pioneering spirit of its early settlers, and whereas September 18th, 1884 marks the date set forth in the original charter as the founding of Greensburg, a momentous occasion that signifies the establishment of our community, and whereas for many years the year 1886 has been commonly recognized as the founding date of Greensburg due to the restructuring of Cuyahoga County at the time, a significant milestone in its own right. And whereas upon careful review of historical records and in recognition of the original documentation, it is fitting and proper that we honor the true founding date of Greensburg as September 18th, 1884. And whereas this recognition reinforces our community's commitment to preserving the history and legacy of Greensburg as we continue to honor our past while building toward a vibrant and sustainable future. Now therefore I, Matt Christensen, Mayor of Greensburg, Kansas, do hereby proclaim September 18th, 1884 as the official founding date of Greensburg, and encourage all citizens to celebrate and recognize the significance of this historical date in the life of our community. And witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Greensburg to be affixed the 16th day of September 2024. I didn't have to read that last part, but I did.
Read the list.
You were in them.
Yeah, well, it's just where I sign. So I will do that after the meeting. So yeah, looking forward to the events this weekend. Sounds like a lot of fun stuff is planned.
We have a vendors fair so far from 8 to 4 p.m. We are softball tournament is that day as well, just, you know, in the ball fields, as far as I know. I haven't heard of a cancellation, but, so that's the original date set at least.
Thanks for the update, Heather. Well, we will move on to our next item of business, which is actually our first item of official business tonight, and that is dealing with the airport haying bids. We have one sealed bid, which I have before me, so I'll go ahead and open that and read that. I bid $13 per hayable acre plus all necessary chemical and fertilizer applications to the city of Greensburg for the haying of the airport. Signed Andrew McCloskey. So that is the one bid we received for haying the airport. And again, the proposed lease agreement for that is attached to the packet.
Correct.
And that's the individual that has done it this
Mhm.
last
This year,
for us.
yes, he has the current lease for this year that came and spoke to you a couple meetings ago.
And refresh my memory, total acreage or hayable acreage out there is 100.
Approximately 105.
So total would be $1,365 at $13 per acre.
And I believe the current lease, I should have looked that up to make sure, but my memory says it was 1,000 for the year.
Well, I think he's done a good job out there, and I like that he came and spoke to us, a couple weeks ago and told us his plans for spraying and fertilizing and keeping it in good shape, so I would be in favor of using this gentleman again.
Yeah, I'm also in favor. Part of the spraying and fertilizing, you know, is helping it be healthier in the long run anyways, eliminating just noxious weeds and that stuff from growing, and it saves a lot of manpower.
I think it's a good idea too.
I'd make a motion to accept the haying bid.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the haying bid from Andrew McCloskey for haying the airport for a 5-year term. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, should we go ahead and get separate council approval for the lease itself?
Yeah, I guess I should have asked for clarification if that was to approve the lease or acceptance of the bid, but yeah, it wouldn't hurt to do another one that approves the lease with him.
questions about the lease?
Okay, well, that is our next agenda item, so we will move forward and discuss that, and that is specifically the proposed lease for the haying of the airport over the next several years. So, Mark, questions?
On item number 2 on the lease, it says at least once annually, just once, is all he has to do it. So if he'd already done it once this year, and he decided not to do it again, like it is now, and you go on down later in that paragraph, or in that item, number 2, I need you to explain something to me. Leaseor reserves the right to issue a notice to mow the leasee in the event leaseor determines the hay is ready to harvest it, and leasee has failed to act 14 days from the date of the notice to begin mowing. What happens after 14 days?
The,
Explain that to me, because
the lease could be revoked.
okay? Well, the only way other than that, the only way we have out of the lease is if he doesn't pay by January 1. I've read through it 3 or 4 times. I see nothing that states if we wanted to stop this contract, we could, other than if he doesn't pay or doesn't mow it, or pay it when we think he needs to.
Well, if we can modify this, we don't have to approve this necessarily tonight. If there's modifications that you guys are interested in seeing, we can add that in there if there's other terms.
Well, I think.
And if you want to clarify what that means,
Yeah,
determines the hay's ready to be harvested. If the city just what does that mean?
If you send him a notice and in 14 days you haven't done it, then it doesn't say anything. So is the contract terminated at that point?
Well, how tall does it have to get before they mow it?
Well, they want as much growth on it as they can get.
Oh,
There is an FAA deal that they recommend 6 to 12 inches total height, and that's it. But it's not a rule, it's a recommendation.
okay, but 12 inches is what, if
They won't
if
want
somebody in town doesn't mow theirs for 12 inches, then we send them a notice, right?
Exactly, and if it gets to 14, we go mow it for $300 and some dollars.
Well, then why can't you just put that in there? That if it gets 12 inches high, that,
The city's gonna send themselves a notice.
no, that he needs to mow. You know,
He won't,
because,
at 12 inches, he's not going to, ma'am.
oh,
12 inches is worthless to him.
oh,
And to be honest with you, I think it ought to be twice a year minimum, and I don't care if he gets one bale each time out of it. The other thing is, 5 years and we don't have a way out of it unless he doesn't pay. I think that's too long. I'm not in favor of it anyway, but I just want to make sure if we're going to do this, that we can look out for ourselves a little bit on the deal.
so you're saying you just want punishment?
Yeah, that's about all we're going to get out of it.
Well,
And the ugliness.
I don't see a problem with saying, once annually or as needed. Or, if that means 2 or 3 times as needed. There's some summers we don't get no rain. It might
but
not
who's
need
to
one.
determine that?
We're not charging whether we get rain out there or not.
Right.
That's his gamble.
Well, I think, just for protecting the city interests, maybe in that second paragraph, being a little more clarity on requirements in the event that a a haying above and beyond the standard once per year is requested. Also what the consequences might be if that is not honored. Again, probably the most straightforward of that would be termination of the lease.
That's what I'm saying, it ought to be in there.
If he does not.
In 14 days, if he doesn't do it,
But we also probably need to be, I don't know if we need to be more specific on, and he may want us to be more specific on when we are able to request that. A height of the, average height of the grass or what have you. Getting a little bit into the weeds there, but,
That's what
Pun
we're
intended.
avoiding.
no pun intended.
we'll be honest with you right now, I would be requesting it. Have you been out by there?
Not recently, no.
Have you, Nathan?
No, I haven't.
Is anybody else? There are places it's chin high.
Well, and we can definitely probably work with, Mr. McCloskey and maybe finding a mutually acceptable language in there that again allows us to request additional hayings, but also still, again, make this worth his while when he's doing it. Council, any other thoughts? Just worth it to maybe for staff to work?
I would say a minimum of 2. Minimum of 2, and if we want another one, then we request it and he needs to go do it. And all that's going to depend on the weather.
That was one thing that went through my mind. You have 14 days, or after requesting it, but if it just rained, if we got lucky and it rained a couple inches, probably don't want him out there rutting up that nice level off ground.
You're saying if he was headed out there on day 13 and it come in and poured rain, then
It could be that, or
then that's.
or if it was
that's
muddy,
something there that's
we would have
negotiable.
requested it, yeah.
We can work with him on that.
We can't control the act of God,
Mhm.
And I think we're starting from a place of mutual understanding here and, willing to work with him, because again,
Yeah.
this is beneficial to his business, but also beneficial for us, and I think, can't control for every contingency, but I think if something like that were to happen, pretty sure we could find a mutually agreeable solution.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that could be just a little bit more clear in section 2, where we would have, if something were to start to go wrong and
section 1, there's the only thing that says gives us an option to get out if he doesn't pay.
Yeah.
There should also be an option to get out if he's not performing.
Well, and if he doesn't do it, then if we call him and say we'd like it done by this date, 14 days from that,
Yeah.
from the notice, then that's terminated too. But it's like, to me, that sentence, they meant to say something and just stopped. And went on to the next, about the bagels.
And maybe for the next meeting, a conversation with him to find out like what is a high
A desired height for
Yeah,
them,
for them
profitable
to-
height for them.
to take care of that, so we have that expectation, so we just know.
When it's reasonable to request one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because just because it's 12 inches in town, this is out in the middle of the country,
And we're not bailing into
It's still city
Yeah.
property though.
Well, I agree, but it's
I mean,
like in
if-
town, that's kind of
Are
like
we
a
taking the
nuisance.
approach, it's outside, out of mind, so
No,
nobody
but,
worries
but
about it?
in a neighborhood, it's a nuisance and it's an eyesore and, I can see it having a lower height before we say you need to get in there and take care of your yard versus something that's out in the country.
If I was a plane that landed out there, I would think this place is an eyesore right now.
Speaking of, does that block, does the tall grass or anything block the runway or anything?
It's good deer habitat.
Well, that's not good for a plane though, a deer. But you can't help that. I mean, it could be mowed down and the deer could still.
Oh, yeah, I don't disagree with that, but
Well, I think historically, he's done a really good job for us, and he seems to be really easy to work with, so we just need to keep those lines of communication open, and I don't see any problems.
Council,
He
I
wouldn't
got,
be doing it if he didn't want to make money. So he's gonna swap it more than once a year, because twice a year, he's gonna do it at a minimum. He's gonna do it in the spring, he's gonna do it again. He's probably tall now, because he knows he's got about 30 days worth of growth again before, and we haven't gotten rain forever. And he's gonna get 30 days worth of growth, and he doesn't have to swap it twice, because he's not gonna get anything. He swaps it the third time, or however many times he's done it this year. So, grass doesn't grow in late September.
are you guys still gonna lock it in for 5 years?
I thought we already agreed on that.
We said 3 to 5 is what was asked, and we looked at a rough,
In the bid announcement, we put 5 years.
The
That's-
motion was for 5.
was it?
Yeah,
Okay, I
for
stand
the,
corrected.
for the bid announcement, yeah.
There you go.
But having that additional language in too, if things aren't going well for us, then do that one.
well, council, I guess the decision before you is can either approve the lease as presented right now tonight, or we can have Stacy go back and get some clarifications in some of that language and have amended lease agreement to consider at our next meeting.
The latter option.
Yeah, we got time.
Yeah, that doesn't start till January 1, so that sounds like a consensus. So,
So for clarification, do you want to change the language then as far as how many times?
well,
And twice.
Yeah, I think regardless of the language, he's gonna do at least twice, like what Wayne said. But as long as we have as requested, that additional language in there, once or as requested, or twice as requested, I don't think it matters too much.
so is there a consensus that twice annually is a reasonable request?
Yeah, I think he'll do that.
To do it twice.
Yeah. Okay.
Are we doing it twice and then as requested on top of that? Because if we get nitpicky and say, well, you gotta, every time it gets to 8 inches, we want you to go out there and swap it, maybe he doesn't want to do it anymore, and we need to give him a clause to walk away from it too. He's sort of the one that has the risk here, because he's gonna put the chemical and the fertilizer down, so if we became hard to work with, he needs to have now, in my opinion.
I agree.
So keep it at once and then just keep that in there that if we request it, because it's reached a height that we're not comfortable with.
Well, I think twice is fine, because I think he's if what we're talking about is twice and then as requested because we get upset because we think it's too tall, we need to go out and swap it.
But I think, you know, like they were
But I don't
talking,
think we're gonna agree on this council on how tall is too tall.
yeah, that's right, maybe conversation with him, we can set some rough parameters.
Is that?
I would be in favor of letting him
I
set,
know.
I'd be in favor of letting him set the expectation on how tall he'll let it get before he swaps it, and then come back and we can have that discussion maybe.
Does this need to be approved at the next meeting, or like how much time? We got time.
To the
We
end of the
just-
year, really.
Yeah.
There's time for a back and forth here. I mean, because.
I mean, you approved to accept his bid, so I think for him to know that is reassurance, knowing that you do wanna move forward with him in the future, but just the terms of the lease, we can iron out.
Maybe just share with them our conversation tonight and some of different people's thoughts on it and see if you can add anything that would ease everybody's mind.
Yeah, I'd say have a conversation and maybe even if he's open to it, invite him to the upcoming meeting, we can have these discussions in person. Just knowing that we don't really need to have the lease with ink on it until the end of the
Yeah.
year.
Okay.
Council, okay with continued discussions to work out some of these details?
Yep.
Okay. With that in mind, we will move on from that item of business to our final item of business tonight, and that's just our annual financial report for the season of the swimming pool.
You'll see that included in your packet with previous years since the new pool opened in 2015 for comparison. You'll see that we lost more money this year than we did last year, and that's due to revenues being down. If you'll notice, admissions were down several $1,000s compared to the previous year, and concessions were pretty similar, but that intergovernmental $10,000, we receive an appropriation from the county every year for $10,000 to help in the operation of the pool. That's what that line is. So revenues totaling about $29,000. And then expenditures, pool salaries, all the lifeguards and staff, that was almost identical to last year's numbers. Contractuals were up just a little bit. I know several expenses we had that come to mind, getting things going. We did buy some paint and did some painting and prep work. And that paint, of course, is expensive because it's pool underwater made paint. So we did buy quite a bit, and actually this fall, the guys are gonna do some patching and painting this fall when we're not so rushed to try to get water in it and get it open. So there is plan to do more of that in preparation for next year's season. So I'll take any questions you might have.
Council, any questions on the financial report for this pool this year?
I noticed toward the end of the season, some of the chairs are starting to look a little worn, so that'll probably be an
That is
expense.
also on the to-do list. I've already ordered some cord. We think we can save the chairs, actually. The frames are good, and the cover, the mat that's on them, just the cord that ties through the grommets to strap it to the frame is frayed over time being outside. But the cover part itself, the seat, is still good. The grommets are still in place on a lot of them. So we've ordered some new cords. That's another winter project to work on.
Other questions on the pool? Hearing none, we'll move on to city staff reports.
You'll see in the agenda packet, Chief Dennis included his monthly report there for your review. The airport infrastructure project is out to bid. It's been advertised in the Tri-County Tribune. It's on our website, and that is for the water line and sewer septic project out of the airport. The deadline for those bids is at 11 a.m. on October 15th. The bids will then be opened, and Lochner will be here to go through those bids and vet them, and then they'll be presented to you at the October 21st meeting. If you want to see the full bid advertisement, it's on our website. I provided the link in my report. I also received today in the mail, the bid spec binder from Lochner and the, plans for the project. I know previously there was a question about, that water line running the length of the, airport, and it does. It runs from the well to the north, clear to the south, and there are, ties into our two current leaseholders and then also the future terminal area. There'll be extensions off of that main line since those are already existing. Those lessees may have to come to us a little bit to where the meter will be set, but that's already in the plans to give them service. So I did have email and phone calls today with Ted Simmons from Midwest Ag about that. He's very excited, looking forward to that. They do still have plans to build a building that may be still a little delayed because of their budgeting, but they've been operating quite a bit out of our airport this year. They've expanded their customer base in the area, so they're really grateful to have our facility for their use. The 2025 budget that was approved at the last meeting has been submitted to the county clerk. Last week, back to the airport, KDOT Aviation announced that the Kansas Airport Improvement Grant Program that we've applied to for many, many years, typically has a fall application deadline, and then they don't announce until the next year. Well, they are changing their timeline to shorten that wait period. So here in the fall, they're gonna be doing some webinars and education on the grant program, and then it will open up in January, and then awards will be made February, March, and then July 1 is when that funding starts. So they're shortening up that wait time, which is great, because I know when you apply for something in September and you have to wait till February or March, it's kind of frustrating, especially if you have a project you want to get going on. So I think that's a good modification. And I'll be working with Lochner between now and then on our applications that we may submit. We may kind of change our direction in how we may apply, so stay tuned on that. Coweta County Economic Development has released an RFP for construction of residential units to be used for childcare, and that includes over here on Main Street where we had the land bank property that we donated towards the project. Those proposals are due by October 7th to Economic Development, and then they will review those. So that project is moving forward. I know that was a question of the council a few weeks ago. The KDOT Transportation Alternatives Grant we applied for connecting sidewalks. They had originally said that they would announce in July, but here we are, September. They had said that it will be late September, October before they announce awards. So we're still waiting on that one. Christy and I are following up to answer questions regarding the zoning property issue that was brought at the last meeting in public comment by Katie Lee Harrison. We want to make sure that we have looked through everything and are able to provide you the best information and accurate. So that's why you don't see that on the agenda tonight. We need to do a little more reading and making sure that we have all the information before bringing that to you. And then I wanted to share with you this month's Kansas Government Journal that the League puts out. I included that as well, and I have the hard copy magazine if you want to take a look at it. We were asked to do a community profile and be featured this month, so that's in there. And Chrissy was at League meetings last week and got a compliment or two on it, so it's kind of nice to be asked to do that. So I think that's all I've got.
Questions for Stacy? Hearing none, we'll move on to governing body comments. Hearing none of those, that brings us to the end of our agenda tonight, so we will adjourn the meeting. Thanks for your time, everybody.